Hello, 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 everyone. Happy Monday. Happy Amplify Your Brilliance Mondays. Welcome to week 3. Now, I'm excited to welcome you to a time we spend one day a week, really to give you the tools to activate your faith as you grow your business so that you can amplify the brilliance that God has placed in you. So, my goal is to give you great tools, great insight, great strategy that you use alongside that gift that's in you. So, with that, y'all know how I like to start. Starting with a little roll call as I'm getting you up on my iPad so I can see who's here. Come on in, tell me hello. Tell me name and where you're joining from as I'm pulling it up. Come on in, y'all. Another Monday to give you insight tools. Okay, let me turn it down. I see a few of you have joined in, so say hello, hello. Come on in. And then do me a favor as we're waiting for a couple women to join us. See the share button below? If you get anything valuable in what I share, please share this with your network of women. It's my mission, my calling in this thing called life to help women and really hold the space that you really amplify the brilliance in you, that you awaken to it, that you amplify it, and then you bankroll it. That's my calling. And so that is why I'm here doing what I do. Hey, Nona, tell everybody where you're from. And is this your first time? If it is, welcome, welcome. Excited to have you. All right, so I'm going to get started. I see there's more than Nona here. I'm just saying, I can see the number of people out here live. Okay. And I'm going to pour into you. All I ask you to do is say, hey, girl, hey, right? So, with that said, this is week 3. So, our goal, our theme for the year, just to remind you, is this is your for such a time as this year. Hey, Pastor Belinda in New Berlin, North Carolina. Yes. So this is your for such a time as this year. So if you miss week 1 or week 2, I'm going to encourage you, go to my YouTube channel. It's nrjnetwork.com and you can watch week 1 and or 2. Hey, Yolanda in Ohio, my clients. I love when I see my clients here. So because every week I'll build on what I taught the week before. You don't need it, but it's helpful. And so really let me just be honest with you. God placed in my spirit that in order for you really to grow your business to the next level this year, for you to have your for such a time as this year, you got to activate your faith. So you've got to do that as well as get tools to grow your business. So I give you tools throughout the week to grow your business. So this is my time on Monday nights to give you that activation, that little faith nudge to really make sure you're actually adding that God in, that you're bridging your faith with your business. Okay. So with that said, our conversation for tonight is all it takes is strength and dignity. And I think it's interesting. Hey, Nona Nashville. Yes, it's your first time. Yay, welcome. I'm excited. So I think it's interesting that this conversation is happening today, the day that we celebrate Martin Luther King Day. And when I think of Dr. King, I think of strength and dignity. The thing that's interesting that many people do not know is Dr. King didn't sign up to be the leader of the civil rights movement. Mm-mm. He got invited to a meeting. So he had just gotten to church in Atlanta, just got married. I don't know if they had kids yet, but just got married, just got his first church, got invited to go to this meeting in Selma. And it Selma, yeah, it was in Selma. And at that meeting, no, it was Montgomery. It was in Montgomery, Alabama. It was a Montgomery boycott happening. He got invited to come to a meeting. And at that meeting is when they created the group that would oversee the civil rights movement, and they voted him as head. Now, I want you guys to get this. He was 24 years old when this happened. 24. What were you doing at 24? I wasn't leaving nothing like a civil rights movement. And so imagine the things that he had to go through. So he's a perfect guide for our conversation here tonight. Even as Esther is our guide for this year. And those of you that don't know, I'm going through the book of Esther, right? So as I look at who Esther be and the conversation that we're having, and when she got to her for such a time as this moment. And just a reminder, her uncle rather, said, maybe you've come to the kingdom for such a time as this. And she realized that everything that she had gone through and everything she did to become queen was for that moment in time. Just like everything you've gone through, the genius you have, the years you've put in your industry, even the bad things that have happened to you. I always call it my pot of greens. And those of you that know me really well, the 2 things that make my greens really, really good, and yes, I can cook, There are two things. Hey, Lisa in San Antonio. Hey, girl. So I'm gonna see you in a few minutes on our mastermind call. But anyway, so the two things that make my greens really, really good are, y'all ready for my secret? It's brown sugar and vinegar. It's sweet and sour. And life is full of sweet and sour. You can't be who you are without having gone through both. And so, literally, God uses all things, not some things, not a few things. The Bible verse says all things work together for the good. And so, you've got to understand that everything you've gone through has gotten you to up for such a time as this moment. The question is, do you realize that you're in it? And so tonight, I'm talking to you about strength and dignity. So first of all, this is the Bible verse is kind of my guiding conversation. So you guys know I have notes because I can talk. Listen, I've been doing this for 28 years this year, so I can talk for the next 96 hours nonstop and still be teaching you something new. So I have notes so I can stay here for 30 minutes, right? I have a mastermind call with my clients tonight, right? So with that, it's Proverbs 31:25, which says, strength and dignity are her clothing, and her position is strong and secure, and she smiles at the future. Now, that's from the Amplified Bible. In the King James Bible, it says, strength and honor are her clothing. She shall rejoice in time to come. And so, the thing that I love about Esther's story, now I told you the whole story week one. The thing I love about Esther and her standing in the gap for her people is literally she was a woman of strength and dignity. And let me just say this, this comes from a larger, this Proverbs 31 Bible verse I just read, 31:25, comes from a larger story. How many of you guys have heard about the virtuous woman? So the virtuous woman, if you haven't read it, I'm gonna encourage you to read it. It's Proverbs 31:10 through 30. And really, the virtuous woman was written by King Solomon's mom as advice for him looking for a wife. Okay. So she was saying, you need to find a virtuous woman. And she gave him all the things that outline a virtuous woman. So read that, right? And part of it is strength and dignity, which to me stands out more than anything else. You can be cute, that's great, but cute can be gone tomorrow. I'm one car accident away from not being cute. Yes, Nona, right? You can have money, but money can go. So I think the best part of who you be is strength and dignity. And so I want to dig into that. And really, I want to challenge you to look at where you are not standing in your full strength or in your full dignity. And you'll see what I mean in a minute. Okay. So, of course, those of you that know me, if you've been with me for a while, you know I looked up the word dignity in the dictionary. So it says the state of being worthy, honored, or esteemed, high rank, office, or position. Now, here's the thing, we all were born worthy. The question is, do you know you're worthy? I know for me, for years, I did not know my value. And so that showed up in the men I dated, that showed up in the jobs I had, that showed up in how I stood in my own being. The second part says a legal title of nobility or honor. So the dignity, although she was titled queen, you can have a title and not be noble. That's like me saying I'm a car well, that's like me standing in the garage doesn't make me a car. Or me going to church doesn't make me a Christian. Just like I go to church every Sunday does not make me a Christian. Just like me standing in the garage does not make me a car. So just because you have the title doesn't mean you have the dignity behind it. So the thing that I love about Esther is she was a woman. I would call her, and I'm gonna give you guys 4 C's. Okay, they're launched into 3 steps, but you're gonna get 4 C's from me tonight. Okay, so the first one, this is not in order. She is uncompromising. She's committed and uncompromising. Those are 2 C's together. So I think the thing that makes her dignified is, first of all, she doesn't compromise who she is. So just a little quick review. So remember, she's a Jew that became queen at a time where Jews could never become queen. So her uncle changed her name so she could run. She made it. But the reason she made it is because she stood out. Now, I was talking to one of my clients the other day, and she is a, a consultant that works with educational systems. I'm trying to say it in a way because I didn't get her permission to say it this way. And she works in a space that corporations need. She said, but I don't want to change who I am. I said, you should never change who you are. Corporate doesn't need more corporate. They got that already. They need you who's not like corporate. That's why I think Esther stood out because she wasn't trying to be like all the other women that were running for queen. She stood up because she was clear and uncompromising. Or she was uncompromising and committed. Because clear is a whole nother conversation I'm gonna have with you in a minute. She was uncompromising and committed. And even uncompromising at the beginning when she was running for queen, when she now has this moment in time where she has to stand in the gap for her people. What is she again? That's that dignity in her. She is committed and uncompromising. She realizes that I have to be committed. I can't hide. I'm not going to settle. I'm not going to tell people that I'm not a Jew. I'm not going to hide it. So she was committed to be who she was in spite. She said, if I perish, I perish. Listen, I'm going to go to my husband. I'm going to tell him what time it is. And if I die, I die. That's some commitment. Wouldn't you agree? And to me, that's a dignified woman that knows who she is, that doesn't shift who she is to be in a place or do something. Oftentimes when I look at brands and I have brands, brand conversations, so for that I was on a radio show the other day and I use this as an example, and hopefully you guys know who I'm talking about. So the difference between Beyonce and I Love New York. You guys remember that show, I Love New York? The woman's name was Tiffany on I Love New York. Oh, she was going to do anything she had to do to get famous. Baby. Now I didn't watch all the shows, but let me tell you, some of the episodes, sometimes I'd be flipping past it and I would stop like, oh Lord, what is she doing? Even when she was on whatever that show was called. Now listen, I do watch reality shows, no shade. Okay, but I did not watch this one. The one where she was on Flavor Flav, was looking for a woman. I can't think of the name of that show. Her I Love New York, that's her name. So she wasn't committed. But she was committed to be a star, but she wasn't committed to who she be. And when you shift who you are to be around people, that's what is called fake. And nobody wants anybody that's non-authentic, that doesn't know who you are, that shifts with the tide. So one day I'll be your friend and one day I'll be talking behind your back. Yeah, that's not good. And some of you guys are doing this in your business, by the way. You're shifting. You're not clear. I'll talk about clear in a minute. You're not committed and uncompromising. Clear is a whole nother thing, right? And so I love that because here's the other thing. There are a group of people that need you. So when you shift with the wind, like, and I see so many people do this. Oh, I am a corporate coach, and then all of a sudden you're a purpose coach. Wait a minute. So first you were helping women find a corporate gig and helping people get in the right seat on the bus, and now you're helping people figure out their purpose, which is two totally different arenas. Because purpose can be corporate, purpose can be entrepreneurship, purpose can just be I want to know who I am. Doesn't mean I'm helping you find a job. Totally different. But you're shifting because maybe this looks sexy, and so you want to shift that. Or, hey, I'm an accountant, and now I'm going to start being an image consultant. Wait a minute. Shifting with the wind. I see so many people do this. You got to understand this. When God created you, he knew what he was doing. So when you shift and you don't be who God created you to be, I meant to say be, when you don't be who God created you to be, you're telling God, oh, you didn't know what you were doing. No, I don't like what you did, Lord. This is junk. If I'm wonderfully and fearfully made, which is a Bible verse, by the way, if I'm wonderfully and fearfully made, then how dare I tell God that he didn't know what he was doing and I shift with the wind and shift who I am? Right, Nona. Girl, I talked about that last week. Stay in your lane. Yes. So I need you guys to get this because I see so many people start businesses and then they think it's not working. And what happens is when you're not committed, it's called seed time and harvest. When you first start a business, or even if I say it's like pregnancy, the first trimester, people probably don't even think you're pregnant because you're not showing. It takes you to the second or third. Now, mind you, I haven't had babies, so if this is wrong, y'all bear with me, okay? I've been around. A lot of my girlfriends had babies. One of which I actually had the nerve to tell her I told her husband to go take a break, and I'll stay in the room. You go take a break, and till the baby comes, and I'm in the hospital. And she's having contractions, kicking her legs up, and I'm like, "Girl, I'm getting no parts of you I never wanted to know." But what I'm bringing this up is you've got to understand that there are times in your business where it'll look like you're doing nothing you're doing is working. That's why I call it seed time because you plant the seed and you got to water it. Right. It doesn't happen overnight. That's right. No, it doesn't happen overnight. So when you shift, it's like you start all over. Now you're going to water the seed over here. That also won't show. And then you're going to water the seed over here. So nothing ever works. Now, sometimes you can get something started and it can work one time, but I don't do one night stands, y'all. I'm looking for long-term sustainability. And so when you're not committed and uncompromising, what you're also doing is you're compromising that you are the answer to somebody's problem. You're holding up somebody's transformation because you're in your way, thinking this is taking too long, or I want to do it like so and so. When God didn't create, listen, if I tried to be Oprah every day, I would fail. Just like dare I say, if Oprah tried to be Nicole Roberts Jones every day, she would fail because her DNA wasn't placed in her to be anybody but Oprah. Just like your DNA wasn't placed in you to be anybody but you. So when people try to say, oh, you're the next, no, I'm not. Just like if you put Beyonce against Janet Jackson, no comparison. No comparison. Totally different. And if Beyonce tried to be Janet, she'd fail. And if Janet tried to be Beyonce, she'd fail. And I can go on and on with example after example. Do you guys get that? So that's the first thing I want you to get around dignity. The second thing around dignity I want you to get, and then we're going to strength, is being clear. Now, I think clear, compromising, and committed go together. But here's the other piece I need you to get around clear. I have a gift I was going to show y'all, and I don't know where I put it. Anyway, I'll find it hopefully. Anyway, oh, here it is. There's another thing I want you guys to get around being committed. I mean, clear. Is so many people start businesses and you're not clear on who you be and who you serve. And so when you're not clear, then guess what? The people that come to you aren't clear, and a confused mind doesn't buy. Right. I love it, Nona, that you were writing it out, girl. I love it. Right. And so a confused mind doesn't buy. And so when you can't clearly articulate the result, the transformation and empowerment and motivation is not clearly articulating anything because you get that free at church on Sunday. So why would somebody pay you for something and get for free at church? So when you're not clear on who you be and the land that God created you to dwell in, you will fail every single time. I can't remember if I told this story in another episode. I'm gonna tell this story and then I'll move to the last step. So in the 90s, Gwen Torrance, Olympic runner, one of my favorite stories to tell that really, really talks about being clear and being staying in your own lane and stop trying to be everything else and getting clear in you. Gwen Torrance, Olympic runner, right. Nona said, don't be fake and don't be phony. Right. So Gwen Torrance, Olympic runner. So funny, I'm getting notes on one part, not in the other. But anyway, my technology is doing its own thing. I see over here. So anyway, Gwen Torrance, 1995 Olympic runner. She was running an Olympic meet. And I'm gonna make a long story short because I can go into more detail, but I'm not. So she runs the meet and she wins. Matter of fact, her time, which is 2 point, I can't remember 7, whatever it was, but she actually broke a record. So if you've ever watched a track meet, after the track meet, they run their winning lap and they're waving and people throwing flowers and they're all excited. And then they stop and they get interviewed by the media, right? And so as all of that is happening, the judges are looking at the footage and they see a discrepancy. They realize that Gwen won running in somebody else's lane. And so she was disqualified. She ran the fastest time, yet she still was disqualified because she ran in someone else's lane. And so what I want you to get is every time you try to do what you do in somebody else's lane, you will be disqualified from your own destiny, from your own purpose, from your own calling. And yes, all of us are called. You don't need to be in a pulpit to be called. God called all of us. He put you here for a purpose, with a purpose. That's why you have the DNA in you that you have. So every time you try to run in somebody else's lane and you don't get clear on your lane, you are failing in the mission you were put on this earth to do or be. Need y'all to get that. And so that's why I'm committed every Monday to come here to talk to you because listen, if you don't sit with yourself and have being time and get to know you and date your own self and allow God to speak to your being and direct your steps, you won't ever get the clarity you need to be the answer you were born to be in this world. Which moves us to our last point before I read that. So I did dignity. Let's talk about strength. So strength says capacity for exertion or endurance, the power to resist force, toughness, right? The power to resist attack. So the last C, so the first C was, the first two were committed and uncompromising. Then I talked about being clear. The last C is she was a woman of courage. Proverbs 31 woman is a woman of courage. Esther is a woman of courage. Martin Luther King, man of courage. Matter of fact, this season for me has been so clarifying. Good, Nona. So listen, after you get clear, you obviously got to be committed and uncompromising. Then you got to be courageous enough to go and do it. See, oftentimes when God calls you, he's not calling you for who you already are. Not oftentimes, all the time. He's calling for who you have not yet become. And so in that space, if you don't have the courage to go and do this next level of you, there's a quote that says, deliberate mediocrity is a sin. And you're deliberately being mediocre. Oh yeah, I said it. Hmm. And so courage, even Esther was also described as a woman of valor. So y'all know I looked up valor, right? So valor means great courage in the face of danger, especially in battle. And here's what happens when you start a business, it's not going to be easy. There'll be times where you feel like a failure. My question is, what do you do when you feel like a failure? Do you quit or do you get the support you need? What happens when things come up against you? Now, listen, especially those of you that know, like you know, that you are called to this work, the enemy doesn't want you to do that. He wants you to stay in comfort, in mediocre, because he knows the people that you will bless with that gift in you. You'll bless people's businesses, you'll bless their families, you'll bless people's careers, right? Take time to renew you and who you are every quarter of at least a year, right? And not even renew yourself every quarter, you need to do it every day. And that's why I give you guys journals. So I'll tell you your journal for today. You've got to take the time, at least 20 minutes a day is what I'm suggesting to you. I do it every morning. I have a whole Jesus time prayer and reading, and then I go work out, and then I come back and I have 20 minutes of journal time. And I do that because you need meditation. And let me tell you, to me, writing is like meditation because I feel like God is pouring. It's like as I start writing, God starts to speak through my fingers. I don't know what that's about. And sometimes I'm like, "Ooh, Lord, that's good." And it starts from me taking the time to read in the morning and meditating on it while I work out. And then I come on back and write what's in my spirit. That's just the, now I'm not saying you got to do it like that, but that's what's been working for me. But I want you guys to get courage. Okay. Courage is about you being resilient. It's about being persistent. It's about not giving up. Matter of fact, and it's also about doing things afraid. Now, oftentimes, a lot of you guys that have been around me, I've talked about this book now. Joyce Meyer has rewritten this book. I think it's a full on book because this used to be a little bitty book. But the thing I love about Do It Afraid is it talks about every person that did something great had to do it afraid. So when God told Moses, "Hey, I'm gonna give you this stick," and people, it's gonna be like thousands of people behind you, and you're gonna put the stick in the Red Sea, and it's gonna part. Now I don't know about you, but I'll be like, Lord, are you sure? Don't you want Nona to do that, or Valerie? Can't you have somebody else do that? Why do I have to do that? Can't you have Lisa or Yolanda or Belinda do that? Right? Because that's scary. What if he put the stick in there and it didn't move? He had to do it afraid. What about Mary? You guys know Mary. We talk about Mary. We just came from Christmas, Jesus' mom. When you really think about the fact that she was a virgin that was pregnant. Now, first of all, when Mary had to go tell Joseph, imagine that conversation. I know Joseph was like, oh, this girl is cheating on me, trying to mask it as Jesus. She cheated on me. And he secretly started trying to figure out how he could get out of his relationship with her. And then the angel had to go tell her, tell him, But see, she had to be bold enough to go and tell him. She had to do it afraid. And even after that, I'm sure all the haters were saying, y'all hear Mary say she pregnant and she ain't had sex with nobody. You know how many people did that? Now, I'm sure after Jesus came, oh, everybody wanted to be Mary's friend then. When they start seeing him in the temple, and really, we don't see Jesus until he's 13. 13 to 30 is his whole ministry. Between 13 and 30, oh, all the people wanted to hang out with Mary then. I trust and believe. But all that time before, have you thought about all the years of people saying, oh, she thinks her baby is special? Everybody thinks their baby's special. But Mary had to do it afraid. And go on and on. But even if you look at Dr. Martin Luther King, 24, Civil Rights Movement, today is the day we celebrate his birthday. He had to do it afraid. And think about the countless people, my generation, your generation, depending on how old you are, we came behind him. Even Kamala Harris, who's standing on the shoulders of all of those in the civil rights movement, who could be the first Black woman vice president of the United States because of all the things people did before her, and they did it afraid. Imagine the paths you light when you find the courage to stay in everything God has called you to do and you do it afraid, regardless of what that is. Now, we're not all called to something like a civil rights movement. My calling is to hold the space for women to bankroll your brands, to build a bridge between your faith and really building the business that allows you to be the highest and best version who God created you to be. That's my calling. All of us have different callings. And imagine what this world would be like if we all stood in our calling 100%, not 5%, not 10%, 100%. There's a quote that says 95% of people die, having only used 5% of their gifts and talents. 5%. Imagine what your life could be like, or the world would be like, if all of us stood in all of our talents. So that's why I come every Monday to have a little talk with you. Have faith. I'm doing a 21-day fast on faith, and it's so great, right, Nona? So listen, every Monday I give you guys another piece of journal. So your journal will be in the brilliancetribe.com. So this is week 3 journal. And I have this one's 2 pages, right? Because I walk you through what a Proverbs 31 woman is. I give you a little more description. I walk you through the 3 areas I just walked you through. And then I give you exercise to really look at how you must activate it in your life. Because it's not about who you were in 2020. It's about it's really not even about who you are in 2021. I'm here for your 2025 version. We got to activate her now. Okay? Because the work you do now, when you're watering the seed, what will blossom for you when you stay in it? What will blossom for you when you don't give up? What will blossom for the people that need you when you really are resilient and persistent and determined in the face of fear? That's what a woman of strength and dignity is about. And that is why I came here today, just to remind you of who you are, just to put a little fire under your butt that there's more of you is needed, and to give you those 3 steps. Number 1 is getting clear. Number 2 is being uncompromising and committed. I'm like, what's my number 2? And number 3 is being courageous. So that's our conversation for today. Somebody type this in the chat for me, thebrilliancetribe.com. I need to start making my banner. Let me see if I can make it real quick. The Brilliance Tribe. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. TheBrillianceTribe.com is where you want to go. Let me type that in to get your worksheet. I will put this in as I always do. So listen, how you find it, by the way, is there it is. So how you find it, by the way, is if you go into the Brilliance Tribe. That's my Facebook group here, and it does ask you questions. So make sure you answer the questions, or my team won't admit you into the group. So answer the questions, and then once you do that, go to the file section. So you'll get week 1, week 2, and then you'll get today, week 3. Okay. So that's our conversation for today. But I have one better for you. So also this week starts Power in Your Pivot Week. So let me tell you what that is. Like, I should have done these before. This is me being rogue, y'all. Okay. So Power in Your Pivot Week. So I do this. This is my 2nd annual time doing this. I have called 9 powerful women to share their stories of a time in their life and their career when they had to make a pivot. So I want you to understand that, listen, when God calls you to your next, He's asking you to make a pivot. So you'll hear my story. First episode tonight, 8 p.m. EST is every night this week. 9 ladies pouring into you, and I'll pour into you as well. So I'll tell you my pivot story tonight. And then we have 2 sisters joining, 2 more. So there's 3 of us tonight. And then Tuesday night and Wednesday night, Thursday. So I'm going to encourage you, if you haven't registered, to register. Powerinyourpivot.com is where you go register to join us. Powerinyourpivot.com. And tonight it starts at 8 p.m. And it'll be here every night this week to give you tools to really go along with what I share with you every Monday as we activate your faith, right? So with that said, it's my honor every week to be here. Can you do me a favor and share the value you got out of our conversation today? I'm trying to go back to my comments. Share my value. I'm 57 and I'm not done. I know that's right. No, I'm 51, girl, and I ain't done. Hello, right? So share your value you got out of today's conversation, right? I love Nona has been so active. I appreciate you. I'm here every single Monday to give you the tools to activate your faith as you grow your business, and really to amplify the brilliance inside of you. That's my life's calling. That is why I'm here. So, and then I do my podcast. So my podcast, every Wednesday, I post the episode. It's The Brilliance Tribe. You got to put the in front of it. TheBrillianceTribe.com is where you go. Yep. To get your handouts and join and answer the questions. So with that said, y'all, it's my honor, my privilege. Every Monday I'm here about 30 minutes to pour into you, to activate your faith on a new level. So if you found this valuable, please share. Please go see the share button, or is it over here? Yes, Shelly, come on. You're not done. I know that's right. Listen, you won't be done until we're at your funeral. Okay, let's be clear. So none of us are done. I love it. Never too late. Never too late to show up and be all that God has called you to be on your next level. So with that, it's my honor and privilege to pour into you. I will see you next Monday for yet another Amplify Your Brilliance Monday. Have a phenomenal rest of your week. And those of you that sign up for Power in Your Pivot Week, I'll be with you all week long. Powerinyourpivot.com is where you go for that. Have a phenomenal week. I'll see y'all next Monday. Tell a friend. Bye, y'all.